Louis, of course, busy schedule as it has been quite a lot recently, and still busy to come in the final 2 weeks of the season. Obviously, starting with a home game tomorrow against Dorking. Obviously, a frustrating one for you on Saturday. But how have the boys been coming back in at the start of this week?
The boys have been good. Yeah, Saturday kind of finished off a real intense 7-8 days for us in terms of having 4 games. Quite a bit on the road as well, especially the Monday and Wednesday, away at Altrincham and Eastleigh. But the boys are in good spirits, in a good place right now. We've trained today, we've got through training, everyone's feeling fresh, and we've done our analysis and our research ready for the game, and we know our game plan and we're ready to execute it.
Yeah, and I mean, Bales mentioned after the game about not liking to kind of make excuses, and obviously, I suppose some supporters and stuff will kind of go towards the amount of games he's been playing as a factor in Saturday. But obviously, as Bales mentioned, I mean, how much were you kind of stressing to not look at that too much? Obviously, it's a factor in itself, but not being the sole reason for whether you're winning or losing or things like that.
It's got to be that way. Essentially, we've got to take full responsibility for the performance. We're talking predominantly more the second half than the first half. The first half we competed well and there wasn't much in the game. We probably controlled large parts of the first 45 minutes and we had chances. Second half, just essentially them benchmarks that we expect to hit every game throughout the game in terms of our arousal, our anticipation instead of reaction, our quality in possession. It all dropped below a level which ultimately is below our standards, and if we don't hit them benchmarks, we're then not going to be able to execute the level of performance that we want, which will then provide the outcome and the result. So yeah, we take responsibility in there's tweaks that we can make and will make, but more than anything, it's just that psychological arousal that we want all of the time and we demand all the time with the boys, as well as that bit of quality in possession as well. So I'm sure that we'll be able to put that right tomorrow. Yeah,
and you touch on tomorrow, obviously Dorking coming here Tuesday night. I mean, when you compare it to the game against them earlier on in the season, I think that was right back in August, start of September, like really early on. Obviously a lot of different players on both sides really, even obviously playing away at Dorking with the 4G and the different surface in that. I mean, is it a completely different test, do you feel, tomorrow to when it was back then, or will there kind of be still some elements of similarity in it?
I think there'll be elements of similarity in terms of we've watched them and they're very much got a similar, if not identical, style of play to where we played them previous in the season. They're very attacking minded, they're very confident. We've seen some of the statistics around their game in terms of possession, forward passes, goals scored are all quite high in comparison to the rest of the league. So and that's what it was like down there. You know, it was quite an intense game. It was quite, like I say, free flowing, quite open, and you can see that they really are on the front foot tonight to attack games, and we've watched the last few games and it's been a similar trend as it was in the game previous at their place. So we're expecting a similar sort of test, whether personnel will change from that game or change from their previous game. Obviously we'll only find out tomorrow, but yeah, we know what they're about, and from our previous experience of playing them at theirs, and obviously the homework that we've done, so we feel like we're in a really good place to know what their strengths are and know where our areas of attack to try and essentially exploit their weaknesses are going to be.
And when you consider the league as a whole and how the kind of bigger picture is looking at the minute, obviously it's been a theme for you to not really focus on that too much and not distract yourselves from the immediate task at hand in the game at hand. Obviously yourselves and Dorking still very much a lot to play for in the league with a few games left now, but when you're kind of getting towards that business end of the season, there's only a few games left. Does it become more difficult for you to kind of ignore that, or are you kind of a lot more aware of it?
I think you've just got to be a lot more disciplined. So yes, there is a bit more noise in regards to where you're going to finish at the end of the season. Obviously, we've had a good cup run, which obviously took us to the final. These are the sort of elements that you've got to manage and be just more disciplined than ever in terms of your focus and where your energy goes. and for us that is on the next game, on our structure, on our game plan. So we're not getting too, well, we don't allow ourselves to become distracted from the league table, from other results. We know that essentially it's all in our hands and that we can only control the controllables, which is, you know, how we prepare for the game and how we execute our game plan, and that's what we'll be fully focused and putting all our energy into for tomorrow night.
Yeah, and when you look at the sort of squad as a whole at the minute, obviously Tinks missed out on Saturday. I think Mike mentioned before, Andy who's had a bit of a minor issue. Obviously he's been playing pretty much every game before then on Saturday. So, I mean, how's he looking immediately, and sort of how the rest of the boys faring after the weekend?
Yeah, Tinks is fine. Tinks is fresh, ready to go. Yeah, there was a little bit of a concern with Tinks towards the back end of the week for his recovery for Saturday, but also over the last 2 to 3 weeks we have been rotating the group. We've got a lot of competition, a lot of quality across the starting 11 and the players that don't get in the starting 11. The way that we play, obviously with our energy and our intensity, we want to have them fresh bodies, and we want to have them players that can come in and give us that oomph in terms of providing a little bit extra for the players to then essentially follow. So it's a bit of both with Tinks, and for the rest of the group it's very much the same. We'll be choosing from the same group of players, and we're going to have some players that will play from Saturday, but we're going to have some players that are going to be fresh in preparation for this game specifically.